Hello, everyone. My name is Victor. I am the Occult Technician, and this is Mind War. Season 2, Episode 7.
This time, baby, I'll be bulletproof.
Mind War is brought to you by the Kill Podcasters Network at killpodcasters.com. Mind War is sponsored by Victory Work Apparel. Promo code MINDWAR. Join the Mind War at patreon.com/mindwar. Now, back to the show.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Mind War. We are back from a little hiatus. The last 6 episodes of Mind War were pre-taped. I put them in the can, as they say, prior to the holiday and, the new year. Because, folks, the last 6 weeks, I have been in a psilocybin-induced coma where I have been listening on repeat to the Gateway Experience tapes. And let's just say I needed that. I needed the little break, but I'm so glad to be back here in the Mind War studios with you. I don't think that I'll be, pre-recording that many episodes in the future, because I really enjoyed doing this. And actually, over the last few weeks, I kind of missed coming down here. So, again, thank you for being here. And, before we get started, before we get back to the First Earth Battalion, I have some production notes here. So I had a meeting with the Mind War podcast executive producer, Stone Fox Detroit. He invited me down to the Kill Podcasters Network, headquarters building. Folks, you would not believe how big this is. This building is one of the biggest skyscrapers I've ever seen. It's not even really just a building. It's almost like an industrial park. This Kill Podcasters Network has grown so fast. It's truly amazing. So Stone Fox invited me down to the Kill Podcasters Network headquarters. I got into the golden elevator and took the elevator all the way to the top and met with him in his office. Folks, you should have seen this office, okay? I mean, the city skyline, as far as you could see, it truly was amazing. And I have some great notes here. So, the first thing I'm really excited about is I'm done with the 90-day probation period. I have been with the Kill Podcasters Network for over 90 days now. I haven't done anything to, get any of our channels banned. As far as I know, we are not being investigated by anyone because of anything that I've done. Now, some of the other hosts that may be different, but as far as I know, through my conversation with Stone Fox, we're on the right track. And now that the probationary period is over, he told me, let it fly, right? We're taking the governor off, and we're really letting things burn here in the Mind War studios. So, as the Mind War podcast evolves, any advice that you have for me, any ideas that you guys have for me, let me know. And I'm going to do my best to incorporate them and incorporate a little more of the, humor that goes on behind the scenes. I can actually be a pretty funny guy. A lot of the jokes that I work on, a lot of kind of the humor that I do, maybe could get us kicked off of YouTube, but those things, we're going to figure it out together. I'll try to keep it as PG rated R as I can and not go too far off the rails. But that was a great meeting with Stone Fox. I was very excited to meet with him. Again, the Kill Podcasters Network headquarters building. It's amazing, folks. You guys should see this thing. I mean, it's great. So, one thing that we talked about during that meeting is he said, Victor, if there's any upgrades that you need to do to the Mind War Studios, we have basically an unlimited budget to help you with those upgrades. And so, folks, over the last few weeks, he sent an entire construction crew here to the Mind War Studios, and we made some massive upgrades. All right. The first that I have here on my list is actually the new mic that you're hearing me through. Okay, so this is a Shure mic, Shure. The reason I chose this mic is because I watched, countless other podcasts, those more popular commercial podcasts that we are going to trash and dismantle as we go through the rest of the season here on Mind War. And I saw that so many of the top professional podcasters use the Shure mic. I went on Amazon expecting it to be extremely expensive, and it was fairly reasonable. Now, I'm still deciding on what soundboard I want to use. So this is actually plugged in through USB directly to the laptop. So again, the sound, any echo, anything like that, we're working on those details right now. The next piece, the next part of the upgrade that was really crucial, and it's one you're probably seeing right now, and you may recognize it, is the wall behind me. So I painted the wall black. I didn't. Of course, it was all the construction workers, the handyman, the set designers that the guys over at KPN sent here to help me. We got the wall painted black. So, I would be remiss if I didn't give thanks to the fine folks who helped me with this idea. Okay. And that is Mike and Jules from the Red Bar Radio podcast. I don't even know if it's a podcast. I mean, it is so much more. If you haven't watched Red Bar, please, folks, go out, find them. It's such a great show. I mean, the production value is amazing. It's a hilarious show. And Mike really helped break the hypnotic spell that a lot of these other kind of corporate, boring, mainstream podcasts had over me. Over the last year, I've kind of noticed that some of my favorite podcasts have started to fall off and started to get a little boring. It seemed like they were really phoning it in. And Mike really helped clarify that for me. But more importantly, if you watch the show long enough, he throws out these amazing tidbits of knowledge, and you have to really listen for him. And one of the things he said was that the background behind you needs to be a dark color. And if you notice from the last few episodes that you may have watched, I had a white wall behind here. And it was lit up kind of pink. I was trying to make it purple, but it just never panned out. And so I'm really excited. I hope this looks great to you. Again, let me know in the comments if you like what you see here. We're really excited for that. We've also got some new lighting behind the artwork that you see behind me. So I actually moved it away from the wall, put some blacklight lighting in there. I moved some of the lights down to the floor. We're trying some things out here, folks. I got some new overhead lights. So let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate that. Now, this next piece is really exciting. So I've been thinking that one of the things I wanted to add to the show, to kind of add some flair, to maybe add a little bit of excitement, something that I can, when I need to emphasize a point, I can turn to the soundboard. Check this out, folks. This is a Bluetooth soundboard. I have an old iPhone connected through Bluetooth to my old soundboard. Again, with this new mic, I'm not using that old soundboard. It's really cheap. It's one of the cheapest one I got off of Amazon. So the soundboard here, his name is Chairman Mao. Now, the reason I named him Chairman Mao is because the soundboard brand is Maono. Mao. I'm not sure how to say that. So I thought I would shorten it to Chairman Mao. This is a great soundboard. It's been a lot of fun. It took me several hours to program it and choose exactly, what type of sounds that I wanted to put on there. And so I really hope you enjoy it.
You filthy swine! I will kill you!
Thank you, Ren. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here. So one thing about Chairman Mao is that he is not nearly as racist as that son of a bitch Tony Wallaguchi over at the Duhheads podcast, okay? The star of the Duhheads podcast, you can find them on the Kill Podcasters Network at killpodcasters.com. The hosts of the show, you have co-hosts Izzy and Rain, but the real star of the show is this racist asshole, this racist SOB, Tony Wallaguchi. That soundboard says the N-word more than any other soundboard I've ever heard.
Oh shit! Damn!
I'm telling you, it's pretty wild. But we love Tony. He's growing. He's, overcoming some of these issues. And he's starting to get a better understanding that, there are certain limits and restrictions for YouTube. But ultimately, we're all in this together. We're a big team here at KPN. So we're glad to have Tony Wallaguchi on board. And now we're glad to invite Chairman Mao, the soundboard, to the Mind War podcast. So something really interesting has been cooking here in the Mind War studios over the last few weeks. I've been working really hard on it. And that is the Mind War Patreon. That's right, folks. The Mind War Patreon. You can find it at patreon.com/mindwar. And over there, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working through the book titled The 48 Laws of Power by author Robert Greene. Robert Greene is a very influential author. He's created some amazing books. And with the 48 Laws of Power, what we're going to be doing is each episode we'll be working through one of these laws of power. I'm telling you guys, these are the type of things I wish I knew when I was younger. I'm in my mid-40s now. I've had a successful life. I really can't complain. But I think that things may have turned out a little differently. I may have been more successful and had less of a rocky road at times if I would have known some of the things found in these books, like the 48 Laws of Power. It's very interesting. What we're going to do over there is we're going to keep the episodes a little bit shorter. I'm hoping maybe 20 to 30 minutes. That way, it's just going to be a weekly thing. You can go in, get your little dose of Mind War, maybe learn a new skill for you to use when you're interacting with the people in your life, okay? So on the Mind War Patreon, there are 5 tiers you can join. So the first tier is Mind War Recruit, okay? The Mind War Recruit tier starts at $3.33. You're going to get access to all of the Mind War episodes, including the Mind War Patreon exclusive episodes. And that goes for all the tiers, really. The the tiers are, as they go up, are really just to help support the Mind War podcast and support what I do here through my art, through the multimedia that I'm working on, and any support that you can provide is so gracious. You know, I'm so gracious. I'm so thankful for it, and I really appreciate it. The second tier is Mind War Enlisted, and that starts at $6.66. And the third tier is Mind War Officer, and that is $9.99. Again, if you can join at any of those tier levels, I really would appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me and really help support this mission that we're working on here. So, the last two tiers. The next one is Mind War Propagandist. Okay, that is $999.99 a month. So that is an extravagant amount of money. And what do you get for that cost? So if you sign up as a Mind War Propagandist, I will covertly insert your messages into my episodes. Each episodes of the Mind War podcast, I will covertly insert whatever message you have to say. So, I mean, you know, you could think of this as some type of intelligence operations where I'm trying to propagandize the people. I like to think of it as an ad, okay? $1,000 a month, I'll put your ads into my episode. And the final tier is Mind War Financier, and that's $9,999.99 a month. As a silent partner, you understand that what I am doing here is very important and you want to support it. You're not going to interfere. It's going to be kind of a don't ask, don't tell type of situation. You don't ask and I won't tell. Easy, right? So that's the Mind War Patreon. I really hope you can sign up today. I'm going to do my very best to put some great content out there and respond to any messages that are on the Patreon. So again, thank you very much, folks. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to pick up where we left off in the book First Earth Battalion, an Operator's Manual by author Jim Chanon. Again, he was a lieutenant colonel in the United States military, in the Army. He was one of the main characters in the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. I would suggest, if you want to do some Mind War extra credit, watch that movie. It's a lot of fun, starring George Clooney and Jeff Bridges and a lot of other big actors. And they were a small group of soldiers who were working on more kind of esoteric and occult ideas, things like out-of-body experiences and astral travel. And it's interesting to see those type of tactics and those ideas on paper. This book was written in the late 70s, early 80s. And it's really wild to think that our government was actually working on these type of things. It really provided me with more of a solid feeling and solid understanding that the things I do outside of the Mind War studios, like doing the psilocybin and the Gateway Experience tapes, that there really is something there. You know, there really is something to it. So let's pick up where we left off on a page titled Realization. These are the major areas of work for the warrior. Now, as you can see on the screen, we have 4 columns called Work, Objective, Reason, and Color. So this is very interesting, and this is going to play in for later into the episode here. But in the first column titled Work, we have body work, head work, spirit work, psi work, eco work, peace work, and framework. So for body work under the objective, is for physical control and power. The reason is to eliminate fear, and the color is dark green. Okay, so what we're talking about there, for body work, that's things like exercise. It's going to create higher levels of stamina and control in your body. It's going to help you eliminate fear and to shun poison, it says here. And the colors, again, light green and dark green. So one of the things that you can think about is when you're exercising, and it's important that we all do, doesn't have to be insane. I'm not talking about all this, super heavy weights and all the things that we see in the other podcasts. That's not what I'm saying. Light weights, a little bit of exercise, some yoga, stuff like that, just to keep your body moving and keep it healthy. That's part of the mind war. But you could wear the colors green. So when I was a United States Marine, we wore the color green. It was like olive drab, I guess, when we exercised. So I wonder if that played anything to do with this here. The next item here is head work. So for head work, we have for flexible behavior, to be free from structure, and the color is yellow. So again, with head work, we are, hardening our hearts and opening our minds. It means having an open mind to new information. The next is heart work, for our connections to people, to be free of inferiority, and that color is red. Listen, being free of inferiority means simply understanding that you have value, that you are a valuable person. You have different, goals. You have different skills. You bring value. So don't think of yourself as inferior to others. Maybe they're doing something else that you want to do, but that gives you a purpose and a goal to strive for. The next is spirit work, for connections to spirit, to be free of loneliness, and that color is purple. Purple is that healing color. We're going to do spirit work to not be lonely. That's something that I've worked a lot with over the last 2 years. For those of you that have been listening, you know that this is a 7-year art project for me. And throughout the seasons, I'll go into more detail about what that means. But I've been working on it for 2 years. And those first 2 years were very lonely. And through my spirit work, I have opened myself up to accepting new friends and new opportunities as they arose. Let's see, eco work, for the connection to the biosphere, to be free of separation, and that is light blue. Again, that eco work, anything to do with the environment, again, being healthy. Peace work, for connection between people, to be free of tyranny, and that is dark blue. Man, seems like tyranny is on the rise worldwide, and we're going to be free of it through our peace work. And then there is framework, the restructuring of organizations to be free from stagnation, and that is orange. Okay, so when we are doing our framework, you can think of those guys in the construction field. They have their own orange vests on, and they are restructuring the organizations that run our lives. So the next page is warrior work. How will you know when you get there? Answer these states of being honestly, and you will be there. So again, body work. The realization is the moments when serenity guides your physical conflicts with another, or your movement through life. Okay, serenity is kind of that inner peace. Once you have an inner peace, you'll find that it is actually easier to move throughout life. There's less conflict. There's less struggle with not only the people in your life, but all the different tasks and work that you have to do. The next is biowork. The moment when the care of your body instrument is more important than the taste of food in front of you. Okay, very interesting. So again, it's been almost 3 years now that I've been living alone. And during the first maybe 6 months to a year, I tried to continue this eating where every night had to be a different meal. I was cooking something, and it was just exhausting. I wasn't really interested in it. It was ended up almost being a little more depressing. And so what I found and what I started to understand is that food is fuel. It doesn't have to always be fun. So now I eat a very routine, what am I looking for here? A very routine menu. I eat the same things for breakfast and dinner almost every night. I like to treat myself once in a while because it does get a little boring, but that's okay because food isn't fun. It doesn't always have to be fun. It's fuel. Head work. The moment you begin to see when you are just reacting from a mind program within a culturally induced trance. I mean, that describes everything right now. When you see yourself or others in the public responding to something that occurs almost in unison, it's because they are in that culturally induced trance. And through our head work, we're going to get out of that trance. Heart work. The moment when you realize that deep inside we are all one. That's difficult. In a world full of separation, and all kinds of outside forces are trying to separate us, to understand that deep inside we are all one and we are all connected, that's a difficult thing for people to do, but that's what the mind war is about. That's what we're fighting for here. Spirit work. The moment that you appreciate the perfect order in the universe and biosphere and your mind, then you will sense the power of a master plan. So, again, we are connected together. There is perfect order. All of these things in our lives really are happening for a reason. And the goal is to try to understand what that reason is. And through psi work, the moment you feel that the universe sends its own kind of energy tingling through your body and your mind takes off. Okay, so once we start to make some of these realizations, you're going to get excited. And then eco work. The moment that you know that the plants around you are conscious as well as the air and earth mother below. All right, that's pretty hippy-dippy stuff. That is, I'm okay with that. Again, if you are looking for something, some type of cause to get behind, if you are looking for something to help guide you, environmentalism isn't a bad place to start. Peace work. The moment you dedicate your life to actions on behalf of people and planet, then you have become a player. Well, folks, you're looking at a player, okay? Because again, 2 years ago when I started this project, it really was more self-centered. It was more self-focused. And through that work, I've started to grow, and now I am doing my very best to teach all of you what I've learned. And that's what the Mind War podcast is all about. And then there's framework. The moment you can see that you can step out of an organizational pattern and reprogram the system. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we've talked about in earlier episodes when we've talked about, the baby boomers still being in control of everything. I just saw an article today that stated that no matter how old these people seem to get, they still seem to be in control of everything. And our goal is to start restructuring the world away from these old paradigms. And we're going to do it together. So next page. The curriculum. This is a possible sequence of actions for any team. It's just not important that we all do the same things. Every team will be unique. Once you get together, you will understand this even better. Enjoy this adventure. Okay. So teamwork, we were talking about it earlier. The Kill Podcasters Network is a team. Okay, we are working together. We are a very unique group of guys, and we're doing our best to come up with fun and exciting content for all of you. And when you start to get together with your friends, and again, like we've talked about before, when you start to heal and you start to grow, when you start to focus on that Aristos, the best possible scenario for your current situation, your purpose as a group will start to manifest. You'll start to see what it is, and that's amazing. That's what this work is all about, finding that purpose. So we got things here like, how does this come to be? By perfecting yourself and choosing a path, working with others, tasting paradise, perfecting the planet, and passing on the truth. That's what we're doing here, folks. So remember, the First Earth Battalion, we're here to create paradise. We're here to be wonderful. Why not? Okay. Next page, the warrior monk. Many people have just enough warrior and just enough monk inside themselves to want to know how they can prepare now for a useful role later as an Earth Battalion member. Until such time as units are active and the call goes out, you can begin a regimen like this to prepare yourself. Okay. So again, we have spirit work, mind work, and body work. And, just like I talked about, over the last 2 years, I seem to be preparing myself for something, not knowing exactly what it is, but now I know. For today, it's doing this. It's doing the Mind War podcast and reaching out to all of you with great content that I hope excites you and helps you grow and heal. So we have things like studying, beginning to look at the world holistically, trusting your intuition, controlling your stress, cleansing your body with careful diet, and just being clean, If you haven't got a haircut in a while, if you haven't shaved in a while, go ahead and try it. You're going to feel better, I promise. Tuning your body antenna with some type of exercise. Develop your body awareness with martial arts. Pay attention to the many ways your prayers are being realized. And practicing some type of meditation. Okay, these are all great ideas for the warrior monk, all right? This is a Mind War public service announcement. Folks, here in the United States, we are in a presidential election year, okay? Now, we know that from past years, all sorts of events can occur that are going to capture our attention. So what we're going to do over the next year is we're going to focus on the slogan that I say at the end of each Mind War episode. Harden your hearts and open your minds because this is Mind War. Okay. So what does it mean to harden your heart? So if during this presidential election year, some type of dramatic or traumatic event occurs, okay, the first thing that we're going to do is understand that we're not going to allow ourselves to be emotionally manipulated by the event. No matter what the media tells us, no matter what the government tells us, we're not going to allow our emotions to take over. We're not going to allow our emotions to dictate how we feel about the events. We're going to separate our emotions from the event until we get a clear picture of what is going on. And that happens by having an open mind, all right? So for maybe 3 days to a week after some type of event occurs, okay, we keep hearing from political pundits. Over the last few weeks, I've heard this multiple times of some sort of black swan event that is supposed to occur in 2024, all right? Great. Thanks for the predictive programming. We really appreciate that. Okay. So what we do with the open mind is that, after an event occurs, we're going to look to as many sources of information that we can find. We're going to gather all of that information, and we're going to use our common sense and say, this just doesn't make sense. The official story sounds very strange. Okay. It sounds very over the top. It's almost unbelievable, right? Because again, people, they only seem to, they don't even believe the things that they see with their own eyes. They only believe what they're told. It's amazing to watch. It's happened over the last few years now. All these different things are happening where you can watch it on your screen and you can say, I see it this way, but I'm being told it's this way. And so many people only believe what they hear. Okay. So again, over the next year, this is part of the Mind War public service announcement. Again, here in the United States, we're in that presidential election year. So make sure you harden your hearts and open your minds, because again, this is Mind War, and we have no idea what can happen over the next few months. My hope and my guess is that this may actually be a quiet year where the financial situation improves a little bit. Now, I might be way off, but that's usually how an incumbent president gets reelected, when the election year is actually pretty quiet. All right. So let's hope and pray that it is. Back to the First Earth Battalion. Moment. Synchronicity in the 6-snap punch. Six snap punch. Okay. Having impact is a function of leverage and movement. The martial arts teach principles that apply to many actions. Okay. So many of you maybe have seen throughout, movies, the 1-inch punch, right? Where a guy, he's literally just standing there with his hand right by you and he just punches you like that and they go flying back. All right. That is about preparation, your framework, your structure, how you're standing. And it's amazing that such a small movement can be create such a force. That's what we're doing here. We're a small movement. Okay. Wherever we're moving to and wherever we're moving towards. Next page. Whether you are a single warrior or part of a unit, these principles apply. The ethic here is one of loving protection. These principles are a blend of those martial arts disciplines that have already struggled with the concept of ethics. They can apply to strategy as well as tactics. So we have here centering, cleaning yourself, focusing inner energy, tapping into the force, the collective evolutionary process of humanity. So first you want to center yourself. Then grounding, feeling a connection with the ground and the heaven, making those areas contribute to the roots of your flexibility. So really that's taking a moment to understand where you are at in the universe. As we go throughout our busy days, don't forget to take a moment to ground yourself. Step outside for a moment, take a few deep breaths, feel the earth underneath you, and look up and see the universe above you. Sensing, opening up, emptying out, increasing your overall awareness. Never block your sensing instruments, okay? So opening up, again, opening your mind, being open to new and exciting ideas, emptying out those old ideas, those old stagnant bad behaviors, the emptying out of any manipulation that you find yourself in, people who are abusing you and manipulating you and trying to control you, they're gaslighting you. We're going to empty them out of our lives. We don't need them. Get them out of here. Blending. Sense the opposing energy. Blend with it, or reflectively look for weak spots in its decision structure or power base. Okay? Blending, we're going to be on the lookout for trouble. Leveraging. Take just enough energy and apply it at key points to leverage the opposing force gently until it submits to your control. This is what we've talked about quite a bit here in the Mind War, especially on the Mind War Patreon. Okay? We need to learn tactics to understand those in our lives, understand them better, who they are, what makes them tick, what makes them upset, what makes them happy. Once you start to understand the people in your lives, once you understand what makes them tick, you can leverage it against them for your own good. And then tempering. Show the opposition your heart and agree to disengage. So once you become stronger in this mind war, and once you start to gain power and control, again, the 48 laws of power, once we start to gain power over those around us, those people who were once our abusers, once we start to gain control over them, and we've really crushed them and ground them into the dirt, at some point, we want to temper that and let them know that if they submit, they can have one more breath if they're lucky. So before we go on to the next page, I just want to, again, thank you for being here, those listeners who are out there. I really appreciate you. And if you're new to the podcast and you're still questioning, what exactly the Mind War podcast is and how it can fit into your life, let me give you a suggestion. So at night, you turn on your favorite podcast and you lay down in bed and you scroll through social media until your eyes start to burn, and then you fall asleep to the amazing sounds of your favorite podcast. Well, the Mind War podcast is the perfect podcast to help you fall asleep. Put it on as you go, as you begin your slumber. And I'm going to make a promise to you, okay, that nowhere in the Mind War podcast episodes am I going to put any type of mind control messages, any type of hypnotic messages, or use any type of hypnosis tools on you. So you don't have to worry that if you're listening to the Mind War podcast as you sleep, that I'm trying to, program you to, say, wake up the next day and have this strong desire to make a purchase from the Victory Work Apparel Etsy page. That's not how I'm going to work here, folks, okay? So again, I promise that through the Mind War podcast, no hypnosis, no mind control, none of that, all right? Okay, next page. Ethical hierarchy. Both soldiers and units can achieve an ethical evolution. The benefits of this progress are both immediate and long range. Both soldiers and units can achieve flow states. When that happens, work doesn't seem like work, but everything gets done. Mental serenity doesn't produce lethargy, it increases functional effectiveness. Okay? So that's absolutely true. Once you find that serenity in what you're doing, just like here, this doesn't feel like work to me. I spend countless hours working on, or I like to say creating this art. It doesn't feel like a chore. I'm not, I'm not burned out by this process. It's exciting and invigorates me. And so here in the chart, we have fear states. In the fear state, you are lacking security, pleasure, power, and love, okay? You also have a force of arms and the force of will. But we're going to move beyond those fear states and we're going to move into the flow states, where you have the force of spirit and the force of heart. You get creative, you're knowing, and you turn into that oneness. Next page, pre-visualization. Recent studies have shown clearly that we can effectively practice events in our mind. I do this all the time, folks. So if there is something you would like to accomplish, do it in your mind first. Athletes have increased their performance dramatically with this. Picturing technique. When you think about it, this is the clearest way to send plans and orders to your body and psyche before you do something. Picture yourself healthy and energetic and see if it catches. I do this visualization technique all the time. I'm constantly sitting down, thinking of the tasks at hand, thinking of the things that I want to achieve, and visualizing them. I visualize myself coming down here and doing the Mind War podcast. I channel some of history's greatest orators and do my very best to live up to all of the greats that have come before me, right? And I do this through visualization. I come down here, I focus, I put my headphones on, I sit here without all of these, all the equipment turned on, and I really think about what I'm going to do, and I give thanks for being able to do it. I see myself springing out of bed. I see myself walking energetically and confidently into work. I look independent, erect, fit, and able to make anything possible. I communicate compassionately with someone who is not in control. I take a different but real problem and solve it by an independent approach. I see people who are glad to have me around. I tell them how glad I am to be around. And naturally, things go well because I planned it that way. This can work. This can work. Visualize who you want to be. Because again, we've talked about this before, and I'm going to reiterate it throughout the Mind War podcast, every season, okay? Without imagination, there is no manifestation. You have to imagine yourself being successful. You have to imagine the things that you want to accomplish first. You can't go around just saying, I want to be famous. That's not how it works. You have to visualize each step as you work towards that. You know, if being famous is what you're going for, right? If you want to start a business, you can't just say, I want to be a business owner, and then sit on your hand all day going, man, I wish I was a business owner. It doesn't work that way. You have to visualize each and every step. And you may not need to know all of the steps in advance. So trust me, I've been stumbling through this over, again, the last 2 years, and really just stumbling upon what the next thing is going to be. And as I complete a task and move up a level, I start to think, okay, what do I have to do next? And how do I figure it out? You know, how do I figure out what comes next? Again, it's through that pre-visualization, watching those around me and how they succeed, and then visualizing myself being successful as well. Next page, attention without tension. One of the most ideal levels of consciousness to be in is attention without tension. The attention is a clear and present view of reality. You know intuitively the consequences of everything going on around you. But the nice part is that you are centered and grounded in such a way that you can deal with the entire process playing on 45 RPM or maybe even 33.5 RPM, but never 78 RPM. I don't really know what that last part means, but I will tell you this, that the clear and present view of reality. We talked about that a lot in season 1 as we worked through the book titled Mind War. We have to take a clear understanding, a clear look at what our life really is. What is our real, what is the real situation that we're in? What are the limitations that are put on us? And how do we find the Aristos, that best possible scenario for our current situation? And so we have a little tool here. For 1 minute, for 60 seconds, when you find your motor running too fast, try this 60-second relaxation response. Number 1, inhale slowly to the count of 7. Pause and exhale slowly, counting to 7. Do it again, and then inhale. On the third inhale, squeeze your arms in tight and drop the prana into your hand. Hang your jaw loose, let your lips follow the cool air into the center of your throat. And repeat. Okay. So whether you do this type of 60-second breathing routine or you have your own relaxation methods, take the time throughout the day to do that. Again, just like stepping outside and grounding yourself. When you find yourself being stressed out or when you find yourself being exhausted, do this 1 minute breathing technique or any of the techniques that you've learned and take the time to have attention without tension. Next page, changing your program. It's not healthy and it's not fun to hold on to ways of thinking that get in the way of our growth. Isn't that true? It's astonishing how easy it is to give yourself permission to dump programs that don't work. Ooh, I like this next term. Cultural cripples can be healed as fast as they want to be. So there's a little comic strip here and it says, well, you see, that's just the way I am. Programmed deficiency. But it's getting in the way of my growth. But since I choose to be that way, I could also be free of it if I choose to. And then it says, damn, that was easy. It's very true. We have cultural programming. We talk about it over and over again, and we will continue to talk about it. How the corporations, organizations, and institutions in our lives put this heavy wool blanket of culture upon us. The things that society says that we should believe in, the way that society says we should act, and how we should think. We have to break free from that programming. So I'm not here to tell you, once you break free from it, then you should go and think this way or that way. That's not what this is. What I'm trying to do, what we do here in the Mind War, is we take that external look at how we are being programmed by our culture. And we find those unhealthy, just demeaning and awful programming techniques that are used against us every day. Okay? And that's part of the Mind War. We are taught to believe things in a certain way. And it doesn't have to be that way. You don't always have to see things exactly how the culture tells you to. Because if you do, then you may get a visit from the Mind War Police. This is the Mind War Police. Turn off your minds and step outside with your hands up. So folks, in this Mind War Police segment, I want to talk about a direct message that I received on Instagram some weeks back from a longtime follower. This is a man who has followed my account for quite a while. He often likes a lot of my posts. And one of the things that I try to do as a content creator is if you like my post, my goal is to go back and like 3 of yours. I try to repay that like threefold, right? And so I've interacted with this follower several times, just through the likes and back and forth. Now, when a new episode of Mind War is released, I put out a little a reel. I think it's called a story, letting people know that the Mind War episode is now available. And the way that I do that is use a picture of the character that I call Uncle Vic. So that picture of me where it says, "I want you for Mind War." That's simply a play off of Uncle Sam, the Army recruiter, who says, "I want you for the U.S. Army," right? So one day when a new episode of Mind War was released and I put that video out in my story, I got a response from this follower, and it said, "I want you too, sexy."
No, sir, I don't like it.
That's correct. I do not like that. I did not appreciate that message whatsoever. Now, again, this was a male follower. This was a man who sent this message to me. And not that it's any of your fucking business, but I'm not gay. Just because you see this art symbol in front of me that has a rainbow design on it doesn't mean that it represents pride. It doesn't mean that it represents the homosexual agenda. Now, I am not homophobic. I'm not racist, ageist, sexist, ableist. I'm none of those things. I am a hate-filled maniac, but I hate things that aren't quite as, the mainstream type of hate that we hear from the media and the government and all the organizations, corporations, and institutions, okay? But the things that I hate, we'll talk about later, okay? But what I want to talk about right now is why that message is a perfect example of the mind war, of what we just talked about, this cultural programming, okay? So let's think about the rainbow itself. The rainbow can be described in several different ways. The first is maybe just through science. What is a rainbow? It's literally just droplets of water in the sky reflecting the sunlight. All right? That's what a rainbow is. When you see a rainbow design, do you think science? Or do you think, pride or some type of gay agenda or whatever? Now, the rainbow can also represent the chakras, right? So we see all these different pictures of the man sitting Indian style, and he has the different colored orbs that go from his groin up to the top of the crown of his head. And each one of these orbs represents a chakra. They're all different colors, and they each represent part of our anatomy or part of our emotional state, right? So those colors, this rainbow design can represent more than just, again, the gay agenda, pride, whatever it may be. Now for me, this was one of the first designs that I created. And the reason that I decided to do the rainbow triangle first was when I was younger, I spent a lot of time making art. I loved art class in school. I would do art outside of school. It was always very important to me. Then when I joined the Marine Corps and spent 20 years of a professional career doing information technology, there wasn't a lot of avenues to be artistic. There wasn't a lot of avenues to be creativity because, IT is really a black and white, ones and zero, on and off type of world. So I kind of had to leave that creativity behind and enter this more calculated world. And that's what I did for 20 years. Now, when I left all of that behind, moved back home where I am today, and decided to begin this art project, I thought to myself, I need to start from the beginning. I need to start with the basics. And that's why I made this design first, to rediscover the primary and secondary colors. First, to see how they interact with each other. Okay, when you think of professional sports teams, you see colors like purple and orange being put together. I think Colorado has teams that do that or whatever. When you think of colors like green and red, you might think of the holidays. So I really wanted to rediscover how the colors worked together. I also wanted to see how the spray paint worked on wood. What does it end up looking like? What is the final result? Because I knew I was going to use these colors in future art projects. And I thought the best way to do it would just be to put them all into one and see how they interact together. So again, for me, this symbol that you see before you is about art. It's about understanding color. It has nothing to do with homosexuality, okay? And just because I used this design to sell my merch during Pride Month, again, doesn't mean I'm gay. It means I'm a fucking businessman. All right? That's what it was all about. So again, I want to be very clear. I did not appreciate that message whatsoever. And whether it's from a man or one of the hottest chicks on Instagram, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for those kind of hookup messages. I'm here to not only learn myself about these different tools and tactics that we're working on, but I'm trying to help others learn them too, okay? So, no hate here. There's no anger going out to this, but please don't send me these type of messages in the future. Okay, with that being said, let's get back to the task at hand. Total fitness. Positive state of mind requires a proper diet and aerobic exercise. One world-class health expert revealed his formula for being in tip-top shape. At the very heart of good health, he chose a positive mental attitude. Next, he put an importance on aerobic exercise to get your oxygen spread throughout your body. Now, aerobics is something that I definitely lack. I spend too much time sitting around. That's something I definitely need to change. So again, it's all about growth. I'm not sitting here reading this saying that I subscribe to all of these and do them all perfectly. I don't. There's a lot of things that I need to grow and achieve also. And finally, he says he broke down the food. So he suggests nuts, seeds, grains, vegetables, fruit, and other foods. Okay, well, other foods could mean all kinds of things. I hope it's healthy foods. But I'm telling you, okay, if you find yourself, and I know this sounds ridiculous, I know this sounds so simple, but it just seems to go right over the head of so many people. Before you head out to work, If you know that during your workday you're going to need a snack, and the only thing available is a bunch of processed garbage that's at the local convenience store or the vending machine at your work, pack a snack and start with nuts. Right? I shop at Aldi's. They have mixed nuts. It's amazing. They're delicious. They're fresh, and it's not even $5 for a huge jar of it. I mean, that's crazy. You can't find that price anywhere else. Put a few slices of cheese in there, put a few apples in there, and bring that snack with you. I know this sounds so ridiculous, and you're like, Victor, come on. This is simple stuff, but you know what? So many people don't do it. So many people rely on that fast food in whatever form that it comes in, that pre-processed poison. Get away from it. Next page. The meta perspective. Our view from the top. Become calm in whatever situation you find yourself. Take a moment and step out of the situation. Essentially, view the situation from above. Notice what's really going on. Now you're in a much better position to decide how to have a positive influence on the personalities present. Never completely return to the event, or you may become a reaction to it rather than a director of it. Okay. So, having a meta perspective, looking at a situation from a top view, looking down on it. So I learned a lot about this in the military. Again, I worked on computers. I was a Marine, so every Marine, first and foremost, is a rifleman. We're all, infantry. We're taught to fight and kill in war. That is our main duty. But I honestly didn't spend a whole lot of time doing any of that. I was working on computers. But through my interaction with these combat battalions, because I was in a combat battalion, I started to understand what it meant to look at the overall battlefield in different levels. The first level is you and your squad, you and the other 3 men in your 4-man team. Okay? A lot of people, that's as high as they ever view the situation. They only care about the other 3 men with them, and that's impressive and that's good, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what we're going to do as we work through the mind wars, we're going to start to work our way up different levels. Because then you start to look at a platoon level. So now you're looking at the 100 guys in your platoon and what they're doing and what their role in the battlefield is. And then if you're at the battalion level, or the company level, you start looking at multiple platoons added together as a company, multiple companies added together as a battalion, multiple battalions as a regiment, and regiments go to divisions, and I think that's what it is, right? So what you do is as you go throughout your day, say at your job, right? Now, you might be one of the lowest guys on the totem pole at your job, but it's very important to start understanding how the structure works, how the hierarchy works. Start to try to understand what your bosses think and how they view things and how their bosses and the executives in your organization see things. Because once you do, you'll start being more effective at your level. You'll start to stand out more, and then you'll be promoted and go up the chain, right? Next page. Not inside, not outside. Some people live moment to moment. They're outside. They can see the world from the outside. They read the music of life from the sheet with the notes printed on it. Other people live in the moment. They're inside. They feel the world with their bodies. And they live the music of life by grooving on the things and moods that come to them. The conscious warrior stays awake enough to choose the way to process experience to best support the mission of service and enjoy it. Okay. So, have you ever met somebody who, they're, at a party with you or some type of a social gathering or something like that, and they really can't seem to find a way to really enjoy themselves. It's almost as if they're living outside of the moment. You can already hear them in their mind telling the story of what happened versus actually living in the moment, right? And then you have those people who only live in the moment. They never really seem to be planning for anything. They never seem to take a look back at why things happened or how they happened, right? So as a mind warrior, as a warrior monk and a citizen samurai, and as an Aquarian warrior, we have to make sure that we are both living in the moment, enjoying life as it's occurring, understanding through our senses what's happening, and being appreciative of it. But at the same time, we have to live somewhat outside of the moment. So we recognize it for what it is, how it came about, and how, if it's a good event or a good moment, how we can recreate that. And how we can be thankful for that moment. And we do that sometimes by living outside of it as well. Next page. Universe High Test. God and the magnificent universe, the soup we live in, can kiss us with its basic free energy source. Some have called it prana. Others just say they feel enveloped in a white light. Others just say they experience a rush of energy. The universe has ways to enlighten us. It has ways to let us know when we're doing good work. Good work makes you feel good, real good. To initiate the energy flow, surrender. Unhook your mind. Allow the universe to come in. Take a bath in it. Learn to move in it. This stimulates health and gives energy. So the author here is talking about meditation and taking a time to understand that kind of ethereal universe that we live in. Now, he talks about a white light. All right. And that we hear about the white light throughout much of the, kind of more esoteric and meditation type ways of living out there, the different programs that are out there. And that's great. If that's something that you're interested in learning the light side of life, please, go for it. But what I have found through my research and practice of the occult is that the light is a lie. It's the darkness you need to seek. The darkness of the abyss is where the answers really lie. I find people that search for the light are often afraid of what they'll find in the darkness. They drown out everything that they fear with the light. They're constantly being over happy and over loving and this kind of fake, like everything's perfect, we're light warriors and all that. I've tried so hard to seek the light, and every time I do, I get blinded and burned by it. But over the last 2 years, when I decided to really, forge a different path, I started to search for the darkness. And the things that I have found in the darkness are amazing. They're wonderful. They're loving. It's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear in the darkness. Close your eyes. Allow yourself to sink into a deep relaxation. Recognize the darkness as it envelops you. Welcome it into you. It's going to be challenging. It's going to throw different things at you that are going to make you grow. But again, it's nothing to fear. We're not trying to erase our troubles. We're not trying to gloss over them. We're here to deal with them. And you deal with your issues in the darkness. Sometimes you have to do it alone. Sometimes you have to go into those dark corners of your mind that you've been told to fear. But you don't need to fear the darkness, I promise you. It's not evil. It's not scary. In the darkness, that's where you find true enlightenment. So next time the mainstream tells you to be a light warrior and search for the light and all that stuff, again, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to tear down the mainstream. We're trying to tear down these mainstream cultural cripples, right? These cultural, this cultural baggage that is placed upon us, the way that society tells us to live. And they always say, oh, you have to turn to love and light. It's all about love and light. Well, folks, I've healed more over these last 2 years by searching for hate and darkness. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with hate. You should hate things. There are awful things in this world that deserve to be hated. And you can overcome those things with the darkness. You can overcome those things in your own life that you hate by searching the darkest recesses of your mind. And you do it without fear. You are brave. You are a warrior monk. You are a citizen samurai. Start fucking acting like it. You cannot change your life by begging on your hands and knees for forgiveness and saying, oh, I love you. I love you so much. Everything is fine. Let's just gloss over everything that happened. No. We're going to deal with it. We're going to deal with these issues in the darkness. You can do it. You are brave. You are strong. And you're going to overcome these things in your life. All right, folks. Whew. Okay. That felt good. That's what we're doing here in the Mind War. So we're going to leave it there, folks. Again, I really appreciate you being here. I am so excited to be back in the Mind War studios, the new and improved Mind War studios. Again, I want to thank Stone Fox Detroit, the executive producer of Mind War, and Tanner and Izzy, associate producers, the heads of the Kill Podcasters Network. You guys have been so generous with your support. It's just been awesome. And most importantly, I want to thank all of you who are out there listening today. So please, take a look at Patreon, join the Mind War today, enlist on patreon.com/Mind War. Even if it's just at the Mind War recruit level, I appreciate it so much. And to that Mind War financier that's out there, I know you're out there. I know you're watching. Don't be afraid. Literally, I need 1 month of the Mind War financier, and I can take the rest of the year off. Okay, that's literally how little money that I make in my day job. I need just a little bit, and then I can really start to focus on the art and really start to focus on this content. So if you're out there, please don't be afraid, okay? And as always, folks, remember, harden your hearts and open your minds because this is Mind War.